People's values are becoming more vital in their shopping habits. Consumers are more environmentally and socially conscious, turning to brands and retailers that not only talk about responsibility, but also demonstrate how they actually do it. The decisions we make now have the power to transform brands long after the influence of the pandemic. One key action is to integrate sustainability within all business functions and find new opportunities to create value for the consumer, employees, and investors. So I'm happy to have with me here today 3 change makers telling us about how they transforming the industry and why this is a collaborative journey without an end goal. And a quick introduction is we have Jessica Cederberg Wodmar, Global Sustainability Director at GANT. She joined GANT in 2015 and is currently the Global Sustainability Director. She leads the sustainability department and is responsible for GANT sustainability strategies and execution, ensuring GANT is meeting the targets throughout the organization. Jessica is also an award-winning and experienced public speaker. You've given more than 600 lectures. Aside from working at GANT, she's also an author. I love your book, by the way. She's been writing 3 books, all treating sustainability from different angles. And we also have Johan Graffner with us here today, the founder of the sustainable casual wear brand Dedicated. Johan Graffner is a skateboarder, as but he turned fashion entrepreneur and have developed his own brand since 1996. He came home from after graduation at the European Business School and returned to Stockholm to develop his wholesale business Blamo. Then he launched Cheapo Footwear in 2015 and T-shirt store in 2006. And then in 2012, transformed that into the eco-fashion brand Dedicated. So Johan is very engaged in the sustainable development within textiles, and he's also a well-needed voice against prevalent greenwashing. A bit of an activist. For the past 15 years, Johan has focused on spreading awareness and showing a responsible and profitable way forward for the industry. And with us from Berlin, we have Dorothee Sarah Spehar. Is that how I pronounce it? I think
that
that's
is absolutely correct.
Yeah, great to have you here. You're the founder of Project DS Agency. Dorothee is a textile certification auditor using her knowledge within sustainability to function as a link between technical knowledge and creative methods. Her project, DS Agency, is a supply chain transparency and sustainability culture bureau focusing on consulting and educational strategies. Among her services are sustainability assessments, compliance topics, conscious storytelling, and customized workshops for textile producers, fashion houses, and retail shops to enhance a connected sustainability journey. First, I would like to open the panel with an open question. So whoever wants to go first on this one, just raise your hand. Was it something that you found extra interesting from the report? You also got the written one, right? And is there something you would like to share as your point of view or on anything? Raise a hand who's want to go first. Jessica.
Yeah. Thank you, Fredrik, and thank you, Scandinavian Mind, for having this conference. It's a really good platform for all of us. And I think that the report that you have done is super interesting because it contains a lot of facts and information and numbers, which I think is a key thing when it comes to sustainability. And of course, knowing your consumers is also super important. Me, who has been working for this for more than 30 years, I've seen quite a lot of those kind of where you put the consumers into different stages. And I think that what has changed over this period of time that I work with sustainability is that you can see that the mindset and both the values and the perceptions has changed within these different categories of consumers. So even if the doers have always been doers, they now have a different change. They have been like even pushed more further to like being dedicated and so on. So I think that is also what you can see when you compare over the years. So I find this report very useful and also super interesting from that point of view.
Glad to hear. Very good points about the values as well. It's good. So Dorothee, yes.
So again, also thank you for hosting this conference. I think it's an amazing format and a really, really relevant platform, and knowledge exchange basically to do so. What I really enjoyed about your report was actually already just said in the introduction of the report. Like, there is no going back to normal. This is not going to bounce back. Whatever we as a society, as a world, as an industry kind of, faced during 2020 is going to stick with us for a long while. And this in combination with how you in the report during the whole like drawing up these different kind of consumer personas always jumped back to the point, this is how brands should act now. It's not only about building a capitalist venture anymore. It is about connecting values and community. So with this combined with it's not going back to normal, and brands have to, adapt a little bit to that, what consumers really want, that I found really interesting. And I believe you mentioned, or you had one sentence that was a little bit in the terms of like a change that a lot of like leaders still deny. And that is so interesting because it's so evident for, let's say, us in this particular bubble, but there's so many people just saying, that's still a trend, sustainability will go away. So I think that is something that I really liked how you connected that in the report.
Thank you. Johan, do you have any?
Yeah. Well, one interesting takeaway is looking at the age demographics, how it varies in terms of general awareness of our main problems being the climate crisis and the mass extinction event that we're in. And these Generation Y and Generation C to some extent have grown up with this huge dissonance between what's reporting on what's needed to be done and what's actually being done. It's something where Greta Thunberg hits it squarely, the nail on his head by pointing this out. And so there we can also see how this generation is kind of teaching older generations about this dissonance and the problems and the very need for effective, active action and an honest approach that is science-based.
Thank you. Yeah. So yes, that's a really interesting thing that we found in the reports, where you could see so obvious that the Gen Z, when they're growing up, they're taking what the millennials started as kind of an idea of sustainability is accelerating a lot with the Gen Zs now when they're growing up. So that looks good. So I would have another open question. Is that something we mentioned in the report? Is also that when everyone is doing it, I'm talking about sustainability. Sustainability is the buzzword right now, the trend word, and it's a little bit hard to see when you work with it for a while, that you actually, when you love the word, when you see that everyone is doing it, everyone is getting on the train, everyone is communicating it and marketing it and building up business strategies around it, etc. Do you see a challenge with that? Like, will that help the consumer or make it harder for the consumer, as we call it, the sustainability vertigo? Yes, Dorothee.
I guess there is a lot of answers to that, basically, which depends, in my opinion, on the general attitude you have towards it. I'm not really big on canceling culture, for example. I feel, H&M wants to talk about sustainability. They might not be the most sustainable brand in the world, but hey, they are reaching consumers, customers, and the target group that the people in the bubble can't reach, possibly. So I think it's not necessarily something bad, but and it's a challenge for the people that work with it so heartfeltly to filter it through, you know. And it definitely creates a new momentum. It creates a new need for sustainability experts also, and people who work with stuff that I work with, you know, in saying like, okay, so this is real, this is unreal. Because, I mean, let's face it, all good things in our society, or a lot of good things in our society and in our business, they come with a downside, you know. We can talk about the same thing if we talk about being woke, you know, and then so it's greenwashing, it's woke washing, pink washing, etc., etc. So I think it's basically about like how you navigate it and how you can, like, you know, take the challenge into something positive.
Anyone else want to go, or yeah, Jessica?
I definitely want to say, like, I believe that we are all experts here and we're part of the leaders of this, and many of the people listening in are also. But my research shows that not the majority of the world's companies are working with sustainability. It is still something for the leaders and the early ones that has seen that this is a business opportunity. This is a crucial thing. If you want to be a continue profitable and also successful brand, you want to do sustainability. But I think that there are still many out there that doesn't do this. So when we say that it's a hype and everything, I believe that sustainability is a trend that's here to stay. So that I believe, but there are still more that needs to come on board about this transformation and change that's needed. And I think that this is also one thing, like we talk about the consumers and many of us are communicating about sustainability, but we are talking about different things here. There are different nuances about this. And I think it's important that we don't just say that it's the consumers that need to do this. This is a joint thing where we all, like both businesses, but also decision makers and politicians and states and governments and all of us needs to help out here, including the media. So this is why we can also, I see that sustainability is a platform where we all can work together because there is no competition here. This is where we can really hold hands between industries, between brands. But that also means that we need to simplify for the consumer sometimes when it's really complicated. And then you need to also to kind of do something that is like aligned. So keeping in mind third-party audits and stuff like that, so that when you say that something is sustainable, you can show how it is that. So for me, I think sustainability still needs more businesses to come on board and really do sustainability work, and no one is perfect. So this is where we all can never stop learning from each other. So I think that is again something that I see is very good, to have these platforms to work from all of us.
Johan, do you want to weigh in, or?
Yeah, well, even in the fashion industry, which is fairly devastating in terms of climatical footprint and negative effect on biodiversity and so on. You have a small niche where it's like the eco-conscious, responsible brands, and even brands like Dedicated and so on do have a climate footprint, although it might be half of that of conventional brands. But that's still a huge leap and advantage. A lot of new brands that now are truly purpose-driven. The older brands that are the industry leaders who have the market share and so on are starting to improve. But I haven't seen one of them that is truly purpose-driven, where they put these questions truly at the forefront. Some of them appear to do so, but when you look at what they're actually producing, they're so far behind that it's shocking. So as this sector grows, and now that the consumer and media are interested in the topic, some standards will be set on how to communicate your progress and what is actually progress and so on. But even for us brands that are producing in low carbon footprint brand fibers and look at everything we have challenges, and there's still a long way to improve all the way to a net positive result. So no one has really reached that yet. So all brands in the sector are focusing on this now, but no one has arrived.
Yeah. It's a tough journey to do, and it's as you said, mentioned that it's a bit of a purpose washing going on as well. I would like to go back to you, Jessica, because you mentioned about that it is a collaborative journey, and we can't put the responsibility on the consumer to make all the choices. We have to make it easier for them, to make them understand, engage in making easier, better choices. And you have something you work with where you call the 7 rules. Could you explain a bit how that is working and how that is related to helping the consumer?
Yeah, and as Johan says, you have to start with your own business first, and you need to look at the fibers and the climate, and you need to look at water, and you need to look at transparency, and you need to look at all of these different areas within your company and how to change that from doing business as usual to transforming that into doing more sustainable fibers, having climate goals and reaching them, and all of those things. So when we put it in a plan for that, and we have a strategy, and we've come more than 50% on the way for that. So then we said that it's time also to engage the consumers, because we know that when our products leave the store, they still have an impact even further on. So of course, we need to start with quality, and then you can have sustainable fibers, but then you also need to educate and train the consumers. So it's the 7 rules is actually the EU waste hierarchy, but the EU waste hierarchy is not that fun. So I think that for me, communication is super important when it comes to sustainability. So the 7 rules is about refresh, repair, rent, regive, recycle, and also remake. And within those, we then engage the consumers to have an easy access of how to do this together with us, and even on other clothes that they have, because we want them to have a long relationship with clothes and have that as a sustainable relationship with clothes. So to give those things a second, third, and fourth life, and how to repair them, how to not put them in the wash every time, and so on. I think that is what we see is also something that we call them curious professionals, and that has nothing to do with what kind of education you have or what kind of age you are, where you live. It's about a mindset. And I think that one of the things that I find so intriguing about sustainability is that there is always new things to learn. And the curious professionals, they always want to learn more. But that's also where you need to give them the information in a way that they feel like they can engage, not be overwhelmed and say like, hello, we need, like, if you don't do this, we won't get there. So it's about joining hands with the consumers. And that's why we created the 7 rules.
Thank you. And I wanna follow this up and ask Dorothee the next question on this, because we moving on with the consumer perspective, and you help brands and retailers to enhance their connected sustainability journey.
Yes.
What is that, and how does that work?
So first of all, I'm very much with Jessica on what she just said. It's so much about communication, and it's so much about like working together in this work in progress, right? So I feel, as I said before, I'm not big on canceling culture, and I feel it should be an exchange of knowledge where you as a brand have an communicate appropriately to your consumers. Not everyone is on the same level, right? Not everyone has the same mindset. Even some are more curious, some are way more, established in their like personal sustainability practices when it comes to fashion and textiles. And what I do is just like, I want to make brands see how to communicate their efforts in educating the consumer in an obvious way. I call it educating without educating, because the thing is, you can do so much storytelling. You can tell so many great things about a product that is like sparking curiosity or sparking like to even dig deeper and gain more knowledge on the consumer. But if you continue and if you use sustainability and is, heavy and dragging language and everything is like about long reports and technical facts, then people, they just sign out, because we have a fast data, we have a fast information age here. So like, even as you like, I don't know how you see that, but I'm a sustainability professional and sometimes I get bored by all the information, and that is something where I see brands and consumers, producers, they need to work together on this, on like creating a transparent fundament that they then can communicate in an engaging and light way.
Very good. And I want to take that over to Johan, because I'm also a communication person. I totally agree with all this, the power of communicating the right way and how you can build the stories around it. But I want to get into Johan as a serial entrepreneur in the fashion industry. I call you a self-made man. Could you tell me a little bit more about like the challenges with this? Because you started your brand, the T-shirt store, in 2006. And then in 2012, you decided to transform that into the sustainable casual wear brand Dedicated. Like what was your purpose, mission at that time? Like how did you decide that? And how do you see that the engagement with your consumers have grown during the years?
Yeah, well, I can run down our story just real quick. We started a franchise retail concept called T-shirt store in 2006, and it should be the ultimate T-shirt retail experience. So naturally, it had to be organic cotton in order to be the best. But although I had worked in the fashion industry 10 years prior with production and my own brands, I wasn't fully aware about the negative impact of the supply chains out there. So as we started with GOTS Cotton in 2006, I got very educated and as a result, very passionate on this topic. So switching to low CO2 impact fibers and natural fibers is very easy, much easier now than 15 years ago, but even then, not that difficult. Back then, we didn't really have marketing advantages by producing in a responsible way. We just pushed on knowing it was the right thing to do. So now with the 15 years of GOTS production, we saved 126 tons of the fertilizers and pesticides from being spread out. So that gives us purpose on our own. It just gives us motivation. But we saw a big shift in the market in 2016, 2017. It was like a tipping point has been passed. So after that, both media and consumers, like the majority, were going from being mainly uninterested to mainly interested. So it became fruitful to take that dialogue, and that's when the awareness really could speed up in society. So we improved year by year with better certifications and introduced fair trade 8 years ago, and more low impact fibers like GRS certified synthetics and so on. The challenge is always to create aspirational product that people are interested in using for a long time, and then the product needs to be engaging and relatable. And that was our key to kind of convince, tying back to your study, to convince the echo swingers and spectators and to get people on board just by making sure that responsibly produced fashion is cool and fun and relatable. I think that is the key. It lowers the hurdle for people to buy responsibly.
I think that's one word that, except from sustainability, brings the three of you together. It's that you all mentioned that sustainability is fun and that that it could be profitable. So I'm really glad to hear that. And I just realized both of you are into cotton quite a lot. And how do you feel that? I mean, third-party auditing. We also have an auditor with us, like here. What's the challenges in running a sustainable brand today in regard of auditing and sourcing?
Well, we are a bio-based brand, so 89% of all our fibers are natural. We have 79% cotton, and also we use recycled materials, as Johan said in his. So we have all of those audits, and it was actually Dorothee who was the auditor when she was just an auditor, so she gave no insights then, and that was a couple of years ago. But I would like to say, like, when you take step by step, and we've gone from less than 1% of the collection to 79% of the collection that now comes with sustainable fibers, meaning like this is where you can take a step forward, but that is also where you need to have third parties that is credible. So it's not me saying that this comes with a more sustainable fiber than the other fiber that we used before. So that I think is super important to know, and to look at what kind of brand are you and where do you want to start then. So for us, of course, cotton is the main fiber that we're using, and that's why we also have a cotton staircase year by year to staircase different kind of fibers that can then replace the conventional cotton, which is still the most grown cotton in the world. So we staircase that out and then in with more sustainable fibers. But we don't know what the most sustainable fiber is in the future. So you can't stop at 1 year. You have to continue. And that's why I think it's also, I think it's fun with sustainability, that you need to evolve all the time. You don't stop. It's not like you're done now. We stop at 2022 because then we have taken out all the conventional fibers. No, we don't. We move on.
Good. Yeah. Ended so quickly, so I didn't.
Sorry. I just.
Yeah. So I think that we will wrap this up to get the conference back into the same time schedule where we wanted it to be when we came here this morning. So I have an open closing question to the all three of you that I would like you to answer. It's that with this conference, we don't only want to like make our voice heard. We also want the listeners to be inspired to take their own actions. They listen to this, they get some ideas, they go home and they bring something with them. So could you tell something concrete from your own life that you have done to become more sustainable or take more sustainable choices? So we can pass that on to the listeners and they can bring that with them to make actions in their life. Yes, Dorothee, start.
So I would say, or I have to admit, I just love fashion, you know, like, so not buying fashion and not, you know, dressing up when there's not actually a pandemic going on is not an option for me. And the way where I try to make conscious decisions here, or like push it more sustainable in a direction of sustainability, is basically first, understand what you're buying. I'm really looking into what am I buying? What material is it? of course, not everyone is a sustainability expert, but it takes you 10 seconds on Google to figure out, hey, if I buy cashmere, what's actually the deal with it? Is there a nicer alternative? And then also, really, I love the saying, vote with your dollar. Who do you want to support? If you buy that sweater, do you want to support this and this brand because you love it, because it's something you identify with, because you love the quality, because you love the style? Do you potentially want to support, I don't know, a brand that's small and works with artisans somewhere? Just figure out where your values lie and invest in fashion in that way, considering where you want to put your money.
Invest in values. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, who want to go next? Johan or Jessica?
I can take a quite obvious one, just quickly. But as you all know, we're in the Anthropocene, and we're ultimately responsible for the climate and well-being on all life on our planet. And when it comes to our CO2 footprint, food represents 60% of the total footprint, and most of that is due to meat production. We actually produce food for 15 billion people, but although we're half of that, we have starving people, and we have over 15 billion captured animals now ready to be slaughtered, etc. So switching to a plant-based diet is the key, because if you look at the full carbon footprint, 80% of the greenhouse gases are produced by large companies. So some of that you can change by your consumption habit, but for climate and biodiversity, go plant-based.
Values and plant-based. Mm-hmm.
I want to go back to my grandmother was a dressmaker, and the thing that she really taught me was that regardless of if something costs €5 or 500 euros, there is a lot of effort that goes into that product. There is someone has grown that material, someone has been transforming that and made it into a fiber, someone has designed it, and then you transport that and then you sell it in a store. And I, who then get to buy that one or get that one, needs to treat that with respect. So no clothes ever on the floor. Always take care of them. If it's a stain, you don't need to wash everything. Really learn yourself how to take away stains. And also, before you wash, go out and air. Just hang it outside and air, and so really to take care of that. But of course, then I'm interested in buying like clothes that has quality and comes with good fibers as well. But the key thing I want to send home to everyone that impacts both climate, water, biodiversity, and everything is really take care of the clothes that you have. And when you are tired of it, give it to someone else, because there will be someone out there that want to have that. And unless maybe you can reuse the fibers or do something. So really take care of your clothes. They are worth that.
Thank you so much. And I want to take the opportunity to pass on what I do. Is that something that my girlfriend doesn't always agree on, is that I lower the heat when I wash my clothing. So so instead of 40 degrees, I use 30 degrees. And sometimes it creates a conflict at home, but it lowers the impact quite a lot. So thank you to the panel. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that everyone got some great inspiration and insights with them here today. And I hope you will continue to have a great day wherever you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a good day.